Hi everybody. Wanted to do a quick tutorial for a wood grain tumbler. Hopefully you can see. I'm going to do this in stages, and I'm just going to throw a couple coats on this cup really quick before I spray it. So I start by putting a layer of flat paint over the stainless steel cup. This is the one that I use. It's Rustoleum Painter's Touch. It's a flat white paint and primer. And I use 4 different alcohol inks for my cups. I always start with Butterscotch. And usually I do a clear enamel spray paint coat in between. I usually after that do ginger. And then this is going to be a Peekabo cup. So after those 2 colors, we're going to decal it, spray it, and then do caramel and espresso. We're going to do a clear enamel coat in between each layer because alcohol inks react to each other. So if you don't sometimes create that seal, they will actually bleed over each other and erase the color. I wanted to show you this color. I learned from watching a tutorial by Little Lee and Rose, I think, that this color turns green. So you may not want to use this color. I've never used it thanks to her tutorial. I use the Michaels foam brushes. You can buy these at the Dollar Tree, but they're not quite as good of a quality, but I have used them before. So I'm still not perfect at this, so we'll just give this a shot together. I'm going to start with a smaller brush, and I'm just going to put it on the bottom of the brush. And you just kind of go over it. Be careful to not overwork it, because then you end up kind of erasing your work. I'm actually probably going to hold this in a second after we get the bottom covered, because it's easier for you to see what's happening. Alcohol inks dry relatively quickly, which can work in your advantage, but you also don't have a lot of work time. The good thing is alcohol inks can be kind of remediated with alcohol, and they can be blended with alcohol. I feel like I have you guys too close, but I can't see my camera. So this color looks kind of yellow, but not to worry, it's gonna get plenty of brown. So it's just our base layer. These are actually a lot of fun to do. And it's okay if it does that, because again, this is not supposed to look like solid paint. It's supposed to be like wood. So I tend to really obsess over the way cups look to a fault, and then I end up messing up what was perfectly fine. We did a cup for Boss's Day, and I overworked the first one and had to completely redo it. And of course it was time sensitive when I started working on it, so I was pretty mad. But I've kind of learned, my husband kept telling me, it's fine, it's supposed to look like wood. Wood doesn't look perfect. And I was like, but it's not supposed to look like that. So I've just kind of learned to lighten up a little bit. Because again, like, you're gonna put several more layers on top of this, and these kinds of things are only going to add to the texture and the look that you're going for. So what's fun about these is you can do them in stages. And so if you have a quick minute, like right now, we just took our little dogs for a walk. You see what I mean about the reacting? I don't know how well you can see that, but that's because I went over it again while it was dry. We just took our little fur babies for a walk, and we're gonna go grab something to eat. So I figured while my husband takes a quick shower, I'll do the first phase for you guys. And I'll post the video in sections on our page, but ultimately I'll try to edit it and do the full tutorial for YouTube. So just be patient with me. I have a lot of cups I'm working on right now, so I'm trying to kind of get these in where I can. These are a lot of fun though, but please learn what I learned. It is really important that you seal between each layer. And my apologies, I did not bring my clear enamel spray. over here. But the biggest thing is that it be a flat, clear enamel. You don't want to buy a high gloss clear enamel because ultimately you're going to end up throwing the cup under epoxy. And so epoxy is easily repelled by gloss. So you don't want to pick a gloss one. You just want to seal it. That's all you're doing. It's not going to be the finished look. Now what I'm doing here is what I'm telling you guys not to do, to overwork it. Because if I do this too much, I'm going to basically just pull off the layer of ink that I already have. And again, this is not the finished product. This is not what it's going to look like when it's done. So I can relax about it a little bit and know that I'm going to put 3 more colors on here. So if it looks like this at first, that's not how we're going to land. So you can see how easy that is. It's the first coat. So all I will do now, before I do the second coat, which is going to be our ginger, that might have been really in your face, sorry, is I'm just going to do a flat clear spray. I usually wait at least 2 hours between, but that's my personal thought. So easy peasy. So I'll come back for phase 2. See you guys later. Hi everybody, we're going to go ahead and do the second phase of the wood grain. I noticed earlier that when I was holding up things to the camera so you could see what we use, didn't do a very good job. So this is the flat paint that I use to coat the cup initially. Sorry if you didn't have a very good picture of that before. And this is the matte clear enamel I usually use in between coats of alcohol ink. So we already have the butterscotch coat, and now we're going to go ahead and do the other second coat. This has already had 1 coat of flat clear enamel spray to seal between the butterscotch and the ginger. All of the inks that we're using for this are the Tim Holtz alcohol inks. And again, we're using the sponges from Michael's. So let's go ahead and work on our second coat really quick. Shouldn't take long at all. And then we'll move to the second coat of enamel spray. The bottom, I just sort of try to loosely cover, because again, we're going to cover it with some other colors. Now I don't do, now you see, this kind of starts to happen sometimes, so just be mindful to not overwork it. It's really tempting to go over it and try to clean it up and fix it, but it doesn't need to be perfect. I don't deliberately do wood knots. I know some people who do, but they kind of naturally form on their own when they do stuff like that. A lot of people, when they apply their ink, they apply it by dropping it on the actual cup. I don't like to do that because I have found that it sometimes reacts with the ink underneath, even if it's got a seal. So I personally don't like to do that myself. So you can see with the butterscotch there was a very yellow kind of base layer, but you can see when we start to put the other darker colors, it kind of works because it creates the look that you want. Again, this is the stuff that gets me in trouble, is when I try to go over where it's reacting over and over again. So I've had to learn to just not do that. And then just a really quick coat. The good thing is you can work on these in between doing other things. Like I'm about to resin some coasters and work on a couple of cups. And so this gives me a chance to work on this layer and set it aside to dry while I work on some other things. I didn't used to really like these wood grains, but something about them just kind of grew on me. For one, you know, typically tumblers have been something that women like because of the glitter and all that, but this kind of a tumbler is good for men or women and can be a really nice gift for somebody who's not a fan of glitter. And it can be really neat, especially the Peekabo. So for the Peekabo decal, which we'll do in our second or our third phase, I use Oracle 631 vinyl because that is removable vinyl. So when you put it on and you seal it, you want to be able to get it off without it pulling up your paint. And sometimes it still does, but essentially that's the one you want to mess with. You don't want to use 651 because it's permanent, and 651 vinyl sticks pretty well. So that's my personal opinion. I wouldn't use 651. If you can, use 631. So I think that we're probably pretty good because we still have to apply another layer with the caramel. I'm tempted to fill this in a little bit, but it's probably really good just like that. But the other thing I've noticed is if you get your brush too wet, it interacts a lot with the other ink and kind of pulls on your bottom layer. So those are just some rookie mistakes I made. I'm not really worried about this bottom because, again, we're going to put 2 more colors on. So that's it for this one. We're going to go ahead and spray coat it. Coat it really evenly when you use this. Don't get too close. Don't do a super heavy coat, but you do need to get the bottom, and you want to get a pretty even coat all the way around. And this has instructions on the back telling you how long it dries in 15 minutes. You can handle after 30 minutes. So you really could spray it, wait 30 minutes, do the next layer if you really wanted to. I usually wait at least an hour, but that's the instructions are right on the paint for you. So see you soon. Hi everybody, we're just going to work on the third color for our wood grain. The only thing I did off camera is I did go ahead and decal with the Oracle 631. It doesn't really matter what color you use, just matters that it's intermediate or removable vinyl. So this is going to be our decal, and we're going to go ahead and just do the third color right now, which is going to be caramel. So let me just make sure that the cup is in the camera frame. Looks good. Okay, hopefully it's not too close for you guys. And we'll get going. Won't take too long. After this, again, we're going to do another coat of the clear enamel spray. And wait a little bit before we do our final color. I hope everybody's having a good weekend. Sorry about the noises on my phone. I forgot to silence it. It's getting to be pretty busy here, understanding that Thanksgiving is right around the corner and Christmas. I will caution you when you get to the third color. You see how that interacted a lot right there? You're going to be really tempted to mess with that. Leave it alone. Trust me. That's how I ruined the first one I worked on, or my second one I worked on. Just be okay with the imperfections. Real wood has imperfections too. It ends up actually really working when the cup is finished. It's just in that moment you'll be really tempted to try to fix it. Just resist. wasted some ink there. The bottom of this cup is pretty much covered, but I just want to blend it a little bit. Sometimes when I do this color, I kind of go too dark, thinking that it's not going to be dark enough compared to what's underneath it, but it totally is. So I think this color is really pretty too. So after this, I'm gonna hopefully get to paint a little bit, but I have some cups I have to work on. I think that I am not doing a good job keeping this in the frame. Sorry guys. I usually have my camera facing the other way, and so I'm over here painting away. I don't know if you guys could see it or not. See this right here? I'm really tempted to mess with that, where it just got really light colored. I'm gonna do my best to resist. It really bothers me because it looks like it's, see, should have gone with my instinct to leave it alone. So that's kind of what happened the last time when I screwed up the cup. What happens, I think, in those instances is it seems to go through the barrier of that seal, that clear enamel coat, and causes that problem. What I have learned is if you'll let your brush get a little bit, not dry, but not freshly wet, and go over it, you'll stand a better chance of fixing it like that. But you can also really overwork it too. So I think I'm just gonna let it be. And we're still gonna hit the top coat with espresso, so it's not too big of a deal. But I'm telling you, I messed up 2 cups almost really bad over that kind of stuff. One of them I completely had to redo because I overworked it. And I mean, it looks weird, but the cup's not finished, so it's not gonna be the way it ends up looking. And I really struggled with remembering that. See right here, we've kind of got just enough to smooth it out a little bit. I'm just touching it up just a little bit, but in some ways I'm actually making it worse. You guys are probably like, stop messing with it. Follow my own advice, right? So I'm gonna leave it like that. Now see, this is okay. All of this is okay. Again, perfection is not the goal. You want it to look like wood. So I'm probably gonna have heavier ink on the espresso side when I get there. But for now, I'm going to take my own advice and I'm gonna leave it. And I'm gonna spray it with a coat of clear flat enamel. I'm spraying over this too. And then after that sets and dries, we're gonna finish it with espresso and another coat of clear enamel. When we remove the decal, we're gonna coat it again. And then we should be good. So anyway, I'll be back. Thanks, guys. Hi everybody, just gonna do our last coat on this wood grain really quick. I hope you can see the cup. Sorry about the mess. I've been working on a lot of things tonight. I also have a squeaky tumbler in the background. I'm not sure if you can hear that or not. So this final coat for the cup we're gonna do with espresso. This decal, of course, as a reminder, is intermediate or removable vinyl. And my alcohol ink is stuck, so that's not super convenient. Got it. If you recall, the last time I messed up on one side of this, so hopefully I'll be able to redeem myself a little bit. Oops. Without spilling all the ink everywhere. So this part right here, I'm gonna kind of start with that in case it needs to be dry. Now, if we weren't doing a peekaboo, I kind of like it just like this too. It's really pretty, but this really adds a nice touch because then the color that's peeking through when we remove the decal looks very complementary. Once you get this far in, be careful not to overwork because it will do what it did the other day a lot easier the further along you are. Please learn from my mistakes. And then after this, before it goes under epoxy, it does need to be sealed again. And I'm trying to remember what happened the last time. When I pulled my decal up, it pulled some of the surrounding edges up just slightly, enough to kind of mess up the underside. So I try not to leave it sitting for days and days and days, but unfortunately this one's been sitting since yesterday. But once we pull the decal off, then I would recommend sealing it one more time, because whatever seal you had, you want to make sure it's still covered after the decal lifts. Then putting it under epoxy. It's just, after you've spent this much time working on it, it's better to be safe than have the epoxy cause it to react. Some alcohol inks yellow under epoxy. I have not experienced that with these, but that one I told you about, Latte, does. So I don't use it. I don't even know what it looks like. So I kind of just want to touch up the bottom so it has a little bit of that same color. That's pretty much it. Kind of want to add just a little, and this looks okay back here. I'm tempted to mess with it and give it a little bit more, but I'm also afraid to mess with it too, so. Sometimes I mess around and get them too dark. This isn't perfect right there, but I think it looks just as normal as wood, so I think we're gonna call it good. Can't see any places that are really crazy looking. So, sorry, that was a piece of styrofoam. So what I'm doing now usually causes me to mess up a cup, so I think we'll just leave it alone. So that's what it's kind of looks like, and then after it gets under a coat of epoxy, it looks really pretty and shiny. So we'll try to capture that last step after we remove the decal before the epoxy coat. Thank you guys. Hi everybody. So tonight I want to go ahead and throw some epoxy on the wood grain that we've been working on. I did take the decal off. I didn't do that on video because I didn't want to leave it on there too long. And I have a mask on, so sorry if my voice is a little bit muffled. When you take the decal off, one thing I would suggest is start with the edges that are the most pronounced, like right here and right here, and take it off very slowly because it sometimes does stick to the layers beneath. So take it off very slowly. Just take your time. I have had it lift around the edges before and pulled up some of the ink. So just be mindful of that. And I don't think I can deal with this mask, so let me take it off really quick. No, I really should keep it. So I already have my epoxy mixed, parts A and B equally, and I have stirred it together. Once I removed the decal, I did do one quick coat of flat enamel, clear enamel, just on the decal area, just this area. My turner is a little bit crooked. Let me see. Hold on just a second. I don't want to get glitter on this cup. Unfortunately, everything in this house is subject to a little bit of glitter. One random piece of glitter always ends up on a cup where it's not intended. It's like a bonus. Okay, so we're just going to get the epoxy going. I always use finger cots over my gloves because I need a little bit of a tighter fit so I can feel it. The gloves are really loose on my fingers. I have big hands, but I have skinny fingers, so it's kind of weird. For them to fit my hands, they're almost always too tight for my fingers. I hope everybody's had a good week. In the background, I've got the oven going, and I've got sweet potatoes in there cooking for Thanksgiving. So I'm gonna have to clean up my mess in the house, of course. Which, as you can see, I've got a lot going on over here. This mat underneath me is pretty dirty. So, you know, you can apply your epoxy however you want. I like to spread it myself because then I feel like I can kind of control where it's going. And it helps me know that I've got it evenly covered, but everybody's different. That's not important. I really think it turned out beautiful. Wood grains are always kind of a fan favorite. You can do wood grains with a pour as well. My husband wants me to repurpose some of our stainless steel coffee mugs, and he's stripped them. So I'm doing a wood grain like this on one of them, but I want to do one in a color on the other one just to try it out. Maybe I'll video that for you guys. It's not really a typical, I mean, it's stainless steel, but it's not like a typical shape that you would do this with. So it may look cool, may not. Good practice though. I figured I would make it like blue and teal or blue and green, so either of us could use it and it wouldn't be like overly girly or whatever. And I feel like my voice is like super muffled because of this mask, so I'm so sorry, but I've got the window open, but you know, you really need to be careful to wear a mask with epoxy. At some point, I'd like to do this in the garage. with a table and keep the garage door open. It's a little cold outside right now, so without a space heater, it would make it really difficult for the epoxy. So after our final coat of the espresso ink, I did seal it all over the cup as well, because every once in a while, alcohol inks will turn colors under epoxy, which is weird because you can swirl inks into epoxy, but sometimes if you put them underneath it, it's not the greatest thing. So I think we've probably got enough. I'm gonna make sure we have enough and it's even. And then we're gonna torch these bubbles. I love KS resin, it's so shiny and so beautiful. What I have noticed is even though it's a little bit thicker, sometimes the bubbles kind of pool up and you don't think they're there, like if you don't have the best lighting. And so I did a cup the other day, and I don't know if the turner was a little bit crooked, but some of the bubbles pooled up around the bottom. And when I noticed it in the morning, it was a little bit too late. So I was kind of bummed. It's still really pretty and probably no one but me noticed it. And please don't judge my torch. I use my torch for painting too and for epoxy. And so a lot of times I'll just cover it with a paper towel because I don't want to get epoxy on my hand. So when you use your torch, this is a butane torch, so this is like a kitchen torch. You need to go very quickly and not hold it in one place too long because you will cook your epoxy. But if you don't get it close enough, you won't get those bubbles to pop. But what happens is the CO2 in the flame pulls the bubbles to the surface and then they pop. Some of them will pop naturally on the turner, but you can also use a propane torch. Obviously that's got a lot more power. And so what I do is I just kind of watch it, because now when your epoxy heats up, it thins out. So you don't want to overdo it. But now I kind of watch it under these halogen lights to see where we might still have an opportunity. Y'all probably see my big head, I'm sorry. So there's some right there and right there. But it's really beautiful, I think. I really think it turned out nice. I will work on compiling. I kind of did this in sections, so I'm gonna compile everything together. If you have any interest in me posting separate like YouTube clips of each phase that we did so that you can do it in phases when you're doing it yourself, please let me know. I don't mind doing that. My current plan is to edit it and try to put it all together. I know when I first started doing cups, I would save YouTube tutorials, and there were times that I watched them over and over and over again at the same spot because I wanted to make sure I was kind of keeping up with them. So, and I love it when people go live and do them on Facebook and stuff. But the thing I hate about that is that I lose my place. So if I have to like start something and then go back, I lose my place. So anyway, I really hope this was helpful for you guys. I think making wood grains is a lot of fun. When I first started making cups, I didn't care anything about them at all. But now they're actually some of my favorites to do. So I hope this was helpful for you. I would really appreciate it if you like and subscribe. We're trying to grow our YouTube channel a little bit for, you know, just for tutorials and for just kind of live clips of what we're doing, kind of action shots, if you will. But hoping to do more and more of that. Obviously, we kind of do a little bit of everything, tumblers, fluid art, that kind of stuff. So feel free to like and subscribe and share. I hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving. This will probably get published after Thanksgiving, but anyway, God bless you guys. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas.